President Trump scores huge wins in Michigan and Pennsylvania as feckless Republicans certify fraudulent votes. In this video, we're going to take a look at the major wins going on in two battleground states for the Trump legal team, how the betrayal of Republican certifiers is actually turning out to be a big nothing burger, and how Republican legislators are stepping up big time to make sure that every legal vote is counted and every illegal vote is thrown out. You are not going to want to miss this. Welcome, everyone. Actor Steve here with you, ready to bring you our latest episode celebrating the inevitable collapse of left-wing globalism and the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. We'd love to have you as a regular part of this channel where each and every day we focus in, laser focus on optimism and encouragement in the midst of all the defeatist fake news spewed out by the mainstream media. Now, some great news on our end. Our Turley Talks podcast is now ranked number 11 for trending news in the entire United States. This is obviously a huge milestone for us, and that's all thanks to you, my incredible audience. I'll give you more details on how you can actually sign up to get our podcast later on in the broadcast. But first, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that's Prepper's Peak new solar water heater. With all of the lockdowns we just witnessed over the last several months, with several of them starting up again, this solar water heater could turn out to be our very best friend. The solar water heater is an amazing device that allows you to heat and boil water outdoors using simply sunlight. It can heat water in as little as 30 minutes, and it'll work anywhere the sun shines. You could use it to boil water, to cook noodles and rice. You could use it to sterilize water for drinking. Perfect for you campers out there. Easy to clean. It can be used anywhere there's sunlight. And the best part is that if you click on that link below right now, you'll actually get an additional 15% off their already reduced price. So don't wait. This is a limited time offer. Click on that link below before they sell out and get your own Patriot Sun cooker today. All right, let's dive right in here, gang. My, oh my, it's never a dull day, that's for sure. So let's start with the massive wins that President Trump's legal team has scored over the last 24 hours. Let's go to Michigan. We got two major developments going on in Michigan. One, the Trump legal team was successful in getting the Michigan Republican legislature to agree to meet this morning and launch hearings on the voting discrepancies, particularly in Wayne County in Detroit. Now, if you recall, in a dramatic reversal, the two Republicans on the Wayne County Election Board, which oversees the city of Detroit, officially rescinded their votes a couple of days back, which in turn decertified the results of the county that Biden has to win in order to win Michigan. Both Republican electors signed sworn affidavits that they were threatened, they were intimidated, they were bullied into voting to certify ballots, the integrity of which were so obviously compromised. In their signed affidavit, the Republican electors testified that they were pressured to certify the vote, even though there were discrepancies in nearly 3/4. You heard that right, nearly 75% of Detroit's precincts, where the poll books and the ballots simply didn't match the various qualifications in the chain of custody and alike. But unfortunately, as I'm sure you've all heard, they have since voted to certify those supermajority of ballots that are legally suspect. One Republican defected, and the other simply abstained from voting. And I know this was like a blow to the solar plexus for a lot of you, especially the way the leftist activists disguised as journalists were just running around in CNN, hopping and skipping to the news. But this has prompted GOP legislatures in Michigan to step up, and they're saying, that's it. We want a full audit of the votes in Wayne County and all the counties in Michigan. We're done with this nonsense going on at the feckless level of canvassing boards. So the Michigan Republican-controlled legislature is officially holding hearings investigating what's going on specifically in Detroit, with that 70+% of their ballots having all kinds of irregularities. Now, the second big victory in Michigan involves a lawsuit that's been filed by David Kuhlman to stop the certification of vote in Michigan that's been taken up by the Supreme Court in Michigan. Now, in a narrow decision, the Supreme Court turned down their appeal to stop the state certification, because now that the Wayne County Board of Canvassers has already certified the fraudulent vote, the injunction was moot. But, and here's the key in all this, very fascinating, the court came out and stated very strongly that the issues of fraud that were raised by David Kallman in his numerous signed affidavits, by some of the who's who of Michigan politics, who were talking a former attorney general, or talking a former secretary of state, all of whom signed sworn statements witnessing massive voter fraud. Justices in the Michigan Supreme Court said that the affidavits that were alleging all these shenanigans were so shocking that they do want to give this case a full review. And that's why this is so key. In the Supreme Court of Michigan, the justices were presented evidence of voter fraud, and the justices agreed that this evidence is so compelling that it needs to be brought back. Specifically, they found the affidavits of a former Michigan attorney general to be quite compelling. He witnessed signature mismatches that were counted in as valid ballots and the like. There was an affidavit from a former secretary of state of Michigan witnessing similar illegalities. And there was so much evidence presented by this one lawsuit. And a number of these judges, again, this is the state Supreme Court, found the evidence compelling enough for them to urge this attorney to refile and represent the evidence. So we've got the Michigan Supreme Court involved, and we've got Michigan state legislators holding emergency meetings, hearings, and they want to audit the full vote of Michigan. So it's looking very, very good. So now let's go to Pennsylvania. And, before we do that, I think this is huge. You'll notice that the Republican legislators are starting to step up. They stepped up in Michigan. We'll find that they're stepping up in Pennsylvania as well, in Wisconsin as well. They're stepping up because of the pressure that you are putting on them. There are a number of GOP lawmakers who are stepping up, and that's because of the pressure that you are putting on them in your calls, in your emails, in your demonstrations at the state capitals, like in Georgia. And they're realizing that if they don't stop this election fraud now, they are going to be next. And I think a number of Republican lawmakers are starting to wake up to the fact that this is not about Trump. This is, at least at one level, this is about the very survival of the GOP. If we're going to come out and vote and elect you guys to represent us and to protect us and fight for us against these insane Democrats, and if all you do is go weak-kneed Romney, if all you do is fold like Chris Christie and the deep state snake like John Bolton, the GOP is dead, and that death is going to begin with the Georgia Senate runoffs. Republicans will simply not show up, and they'll tell Mitch McConnell to shove it. Enjoy being a minority leader for the foreseeable future. We're done with you, right? We'll start calling you the fraud party. You're the real fraud. The real fraud isn't the Democrats. It's the Republicans who claim they actually stand up and fight for us like Donald Trump has been doing for the last 4 years. That's why we love him so much. He fought for us for 4 years. Get the hell off your duffs and start fighting for him and for us. So keep the pressure up because it's working. All right, let's go to Pennsylvania. Now, what you need to recognize here in Pennsylvania is that the fake news media keeps pushing this stupid narrative that Trump's cases are getting thrown out of court. Blah. And while that's true, we did a video yesterday on how an Obama-appointed judge threw out Rudy's case of equal protection violations. But that, of course, simply invites an appeal, especially when the judge so egregiously threw out a perfectly valid case. And that's precisely what Rudy has done. And the Third Circuit Court of Appeals has granted an expedited review for Team Trump's appeal in Pennsylvania. And this is the case that Harvard constitutional professor Alan Dershowitz believes the Trump team is going to win at the level of the Supreme Court. What Dershowitz is arguing here is that Rudy's game plan for Pennsylvania is a winner. Rudy's appealing to the equal protection violation of Bush v. Gore. That's the precedent where you cannot have counties that hold the election differently. The rules have to be applied evenly across all 67 counties in Pennsylvania. You can't have one county scrutinizing the mail-in ballots and throwing out all the irregularities while another county doesn't care and fails to scrutinize them and then counts them anyway. Either everyone is scrutinized or no one is. And so not only is this court case getting expedited for review, you also have Republicans in the Pennsylvania legislature stepping up. They just passed a resolution authorizing a full audit of Pennsylvania's election results. And they're focusing in particularly on Montgomery County as perhaps the single most blatant and provable example of voter fraud in the state. Before we get into that, we've got something for you podcast fans out there. As many of you know, we recently launched our brand new Turley Talks podcast, which tens of thousands of you have been downloading. I cannot thank you enough for that. We're so excited to share with you that we are now the 11th most downloaded podcast for trending news in the entire United States. Number 11, gang, and we have you to thank for it. But you can actually help us make it to number 1. We can become the number 1 conservative news and commentary podcast by simply clicking on the link below in the pinned comments section and signing up to download our new podcast. Twice a day, every day, you can take Turley Talks anywhere you go, so make sure to click on that link below and sign up for our Turley Talks podcast, and let's make it to number 1 together. So exciting. All right, so we talked about this on yesterday's video, but we now have actual incontrovertible proof of election fraud coming out of Montgomery County in Pennsylvania. Okay, now analysts from Revolver.News have cross-referenced the voting data as recorded by the New York Times data with the Montgomery County voting data. And what they found, we talked about this yesterday, what they found is that just after 9 a.m. Thursday, November 5th, a batch of about 90,000 mail-in ballots got added to the vote total. Okay, this is non-controversial. Both the New York Times data and Montgomery County data record this. There were, however, 2 major anomalies associated with this massive ballot dump. First, 95% of the ballots were all made out for Joe Biden. Again, totally incontrovertible. That's not a contested fact. The problem is that this massive level of support is completely anomalous to all other percentages of support before the dump and all percentages of support after the ballot dump. In other words, we are simply not seeing a dump of mail-in ballots anywhere else in Pennsylvania voting data with 95% support for Biden. Now, you may say this is just, well, it's a, maybe nearly 100% Democrat precinct. But there's another anomaly here. It's not just Biden that got this massive surge of support. It's also the Libertarian candidate getting a disproportionate vote tally in the dump. The same 90,000 mail-in vote dump that gave Biden an unprecedented surge of support also shows a massive upsurge for the third-party candidate, the Libertarian candidate. There is no objective data whatsoever to account for the surge in support either for Biden or for a Libertarian in Montgomery County. Moreover, not only is this batch of mail-in votes completely anomalous to all the other voting that's going on in the state, but there's a second strange anomaly, and that's the fact that even though 90,000 mail-in votes were added just after 9 a.m. on Thursday morning, the total number of Pennsylvania votes that were counted increased by only 9,000 votes. Now, of course, again, if 90,000 ballots were added to your vote total, then your vote total should increase by how many votes? Well, obviously 90,000. When you cross-reference the New York Times data with the county data, the vote total only goes up 9,000 votes, which means that somehow over 80,000 votes, most of which were in-person voting, and obviously most of which were for Trump, were erased. And they got replaced with these new vote dumps. So the only explanation for the anomalies in the end that really has any plausibility to it is the explanation of deliberate voter fraud. And that's why we're beginning to see the Pennsylvania legislature step in here with this algorithmic analysis and demand a full audit of the votes. So all this is to say that this election is emphatically not over, gang. We are still in the thick of it. So keep the faith, keep up the pressure, and we're going to see that justice is in fact done in the end. Now, before you go, make sure to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel. And you'll definitely want to check out my latest video I just uploaded on how Sidney Powell is revealing that the entire system is ready to blow up. And she promises it's going to be biblical. You're not going to want to miss that. So make sure to click on the link, and I will see you over there. God bless.